everybody, how's it going? Welcome to NoDQ&A video number 486. Almost at 500 episodes now, right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. TNA Slammiversary is this coming Sunday, live on pay-per-view, celebrating 12 years now of total non-stop action. If you're still a TNA fan and you still enjoy the TNA product, I got some good news for you. NoDQ.com will be having live coverage. NoDQ.com/TNA. Check it out. With that being said, got your questions here, so let's get started with the first one from Nightwisher91. What are the chances of WWE splitting the titles again at Money in the Bank, with one superstar grabbing the WWE belt and the other superstar grabbing the World Heavyweight Championship belt, thus creating the storyline between the two superstars? And if so, who do you think those superstars would be? Well, anything is certainly possible, and fans continue to speculate the fact that there's still two titles, that maybe at some point the titles will split again. And that would certainly be a good opportunity to do that at Money in the Bank, where you have the two belts hanging and you have one guy grab the WWE title and the other guy grab the world title. Anything can happen. If WWE wants to go in that direction, that would be a good chance to do that. But at this point, there's no word on whether WWE is going to split the titles again. There's no indication that they're going to go back to the brand extension. And really, if they're going to split the titles again, they should do so if they're going to have the brand extension. If they're going to keep it the way it is with everybody on both shows, then there's really no point in having two world champions. Now, if you're not going to have two world champions, you should really have one title and not have the two titles. I've speculated before that I think that WWE has the two titles because it's two sets of replica belts that they can sell. People will still buy the World Heavyweight title replica. It's the same thing with the WWE title replica. So it's just more money for them without any kind of logical reasoning for having two title belts. So we'll see what happens. It would be a good opportunity, although I could see some people being upset with that because it would be kind of like a screw job finish to have one guy grab each belt and have it be indecisive. So, it could be tricky, but it would be an interesting storyline if WWE was serious about splitting the titles and perhaps going back to doing the brand extension again. All right, this one comes from Creature13. Is there going to be another Jon Cena versus Bray Wyatt match? I certainly hope not. I think that you ended the feud with the 3 series of matches. I suppose you could have them wrestle on Raw. I don't think they'll be wrestling again in a singles match on pay-per-view. That's just my gut feeling on that. But it's possible that both Jon Cena and Bray Wyatt will be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, so you'll have them facing off in that match. But yeah, I don't think that the singles feud between them is going to continue. I think that that's over and done with at this point, hopefully. But, knowing how WWE operates, we could be seeing Jon Cena versus Bray Wyatt on Raw every 2 weeks for the next year. I mean, certainly a possibility. All right, this one comes from BHinder1. How much influence do you think Jon Cena has on creative? Everyone is always quick to blame creative when they don't do something with guys like Ziggler and Bryan. But when it comes to Jon Cena, it's automatically Cena's fault. Well, I don't think it's like the old days. I mean, back during the Hulk Hogan era, there were guys like Hogan that had creative control over his character, and that was part of the problem between Vince and Hulk, is that Vince wanted control, but Hogan was the top draw, and he was able to have a say in the direction of his character, and it led to that split between the two of them, and Hogan going to WCW. And I think that Vince learned his lesson. Vince realized that he cannot let one superstar become bigger than the WWE. And it's a different era now. I don't think that anybody could even come close to having the kind of power that Hulk Hogan had. And some say that that's a bad thing for the wrestling business, that guys have to answer to Vince. But, it's just WWE's way of trying to keep control of their company and not let things get too out of hand. And you remember back with Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and guys not wanting to do the job for their rival in real life, and WWE doesn't want those kind of situations anymore. So the guys are only going to have so much power, And as much of a merchandise seller that Jon Cena is, at the end of the day, I think WWE would see him as a guy that they could replace. It would be very difficult, and they're working on building up Roman Reigns, but it's just a different time period, and I do think that Jon Cena has some say, but at the end of the day, he works for WWE. He is collecting a big fat paycheck, and he's living his dream. He's able to go out there and do the Make-A-Wishes and go out there and perform and just do what he does. And, I don't think that he is going to complain all that much about the direction of his character and what they want to do. And, Cena will, I think he will be more than happy to put over anybody on any occasion. We saw that at SummerSlam with Daniel Bryan. And, I think Jon Cena would not put up a fight to putting over other talent. All right, this one comes from Lee. Hey Aaron, here's my question. I read that Goldberg is considering a comeback to the WWE. If he comes back, who do you think he should wrestle? Who do you think he could put on a decent match with? Well, certainly not Ryback, especially now that Ryback has cooled off so much. I mean, that's an interesting question. Who would you put Goldberg in against if he was to make a WWE comeback? Who would really be able to bring the best out of Goldberg? And who would be somebody that's a big enough star in a match that would have enough intrigue? I'm really not sure. I mean, I think if I was making a decision, I would go with Goldberg versus Jon Cena because Goldberg was the biggest star at WCW versus the biggest star at WWE. So, I mean, that just makes logical sense. And I think that if the two guys prepared enough for the match and went over it and spent a couple months working it out, I think that Jon Cena could get a good match out of Goldberg. Other options would be Brock Lesnar, although we saw what happened with that first Goldberg-Lesnar match. So actually, probably best to avoid that. Goldberg versus Randy Orton, maybe. That way you'd have a heel versus face, although I'm sure with Goldberg and Cena would get booed out of the building like a heel. You could do Goldberg versus Batista. I think the options are limited. I mean, I think I would go with Goldberg versus Jon Cena at this point, and there's not really a whole lot I feel that would be a real marquee match and a match where Goldberg would look good and the guy he's facing would look good as well. All right, this one comes from Logan89. Hey Aaron, back when WWE was WWF and they had the F besides the W for the logo, why haven't they done that with the E for the new WWE logo? Is that a reason behind it? Is there a reason behind it, or is it just laziness on WWE's part? Well, I think what happened was that whole World Wildlife Fund ruling went down very suddenly, and WWE was forced to immediately change the logo. So it's not like they had a lot of time to come up with something. They just, had to scratch out the F and have the two W's, and that's what they've had now for 12 years, and people recognize the two W's as a logo. So you have to keep in mind, whenever WWE changes a logo, or any company changes a logo, it costs money because you have to do a complete rebranding. You have to change a logo on all your merchandise and your DVDs and your website, and it just takes time and resources. And the fact is, people recognize the two W's. So trying to add an E to it or change up the logo too much, it would be too much of a risk. So it's not really necessary for them to do that. What they did with the network, just changing up the logo very slightly, I think that was a good change. And, we really don't need to go beyond that, I don't think. All right, this one comes from Calvin Bowman 1. Hey Aaron, should WWE remove JBL from the commentary table from Raw? And should WWE bring Jim Ross back as the third commentator with Michael Cole and Jerry Lawler? What do you think? Please answer in video. Well, as much as I love Jim Ross, I think that with his health problems, I mean, the reality is he's too old. Jerry Lawler is too old. JBL is not quite as old, but he's old, if you know what I mean. And Michael Cole does his job well, technically. So what WWE really needs is a full announcer shakeup. You need some fresh blood in there. I'd like to see Michael Cole in there with a new heel announcer, somebody who can do effective color commentary and play off Michael Cole.
That's what WWE needs, I think, at this point. Somebody who can also bring out the best in Michael Cole and get him riled up, and somebody who would have good chemistry with him. Have a two-man team. I think that 3 commentators. I mean, more times than not, I think 3 commentators is just too much, and you have people talking over each other, and it's just difficult to pull that off. Going back to the days of Nitro with the 3-man announced team, and with Raw. It's just too much. I think your best is to just stick to 2 guys. One, the guy who does the announcing and the baby face, and then you have the heel color commentator. I think that's always worked well, and I think WWE should stick to that. Maybe bring in somebody new to be that heel color commentator against Michael Cole. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of No DQ&A video. Thank you for watching as always. Subscribe if you haven't already at youtube.com/NoDQCAW. Stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. And don't forget, Slammiversary coverage this weekend, live play-by-play results on Sunday. And I'll see you guys next time for another edition of No DQ&A video.